3, 2, 1.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gift that they said they were gonna help me find a way to um, release it so I can help others, you know.
Yeah.
But 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 the thing was is I was they we're going through a lot of folklore. We were going through all types of I guess you could say scary stories or anything like that around the areas where they would talk about shapeshifters, the
Okay.
reptilians, witches. So most of the time when I would go into the mountains to pray, they would send me to places where they said witches would kidnap people and people would disappear.
Right.
So I would go up to the mountain. There's even one called they call it I forgot how they say it in Spanish, but what it means is the Valley of the Witches. And if you look it up on any kind of history in Mexico, like folklore, it's like there's orbs that go around the mountain at that and that's when like when people are hiking, they see red orbs flying through the mountains and
Okay.
people
And
disappear.
this mountain range is called what again? Sorry.
This one was in Texacoco. It was I don't know, but it's called the Valley of the Witch. You know,
Okay. Okay.
and
And just to go back, you had family troubles where you had family troubles with uh your sister,
yeah,
wasn't it? Okay.
yeah. Well, when everything happened, like in right when COVID, the exact same day COVID lockdowns in Texas hit, my niece went missing, and
Oh,
and
okay.
no authorities would help us. No, like basically, I was told by the cops to keep my mouth shut. That I had no that it was
That
none of my.
you were told
Yeah,
by the cops to keep your mouth shut. Why?
I don't know. They just kept telling me, threatening me, saying that I had no authority there. That I was an uncle and I shouldn't be involved in that, and it's best if I just let it go. And then
Okay. Okay.
and
Right. Well,
it got so bad where I found out like even the school nurse. I found a group of people targeting children, and the school nurse was even going into the elementary school and getting information on kids and giving it to people. And when the judge found out that I knew about it, the judge started threatening me, saying that she was going to lock me
ah,
up. You
got
know,
you. Okay. So there was like a kiddie ring around that area,
yeah,
taking kids away.
yes, it was pretty bad out there.
That's
And
pretty bad. Yeah, that is pretty bad. So, did you go initially? I'm just trying to ascertain basically the timeline a little bit. So, after that, you went to the Temple of the Serpent
yeah,
in seeking. Were you seeking uh, guidance
I
to
was, I was,
help find?
I was. Well, I'm going to tell you my dream. The dream I had before I saw this and all that, and
Yeah.
I was trying to find God for a long time, and I even tried to become a preacher one time.
Uh-huh.
But so before this happened, I before my sister called me up or anything like that, I had three dreams, and the first dream it was I saw I was standing in the middle of a field, and I saw a big old flash, and everything was consumed by fire. And when the flames hit me, it felt so hot that I woke up, and my bed was so soaked. And then the second night, I saw people fighting, and I heard a voice saying, "The time has come for brother against brother and father against son. The time has come." And I saw people just killing each other. Everybody at war
Okay.
fighting.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
same thing. I woke up soaking wet. And the third night, I woke up. I mean, I was actually fighting. I was actually fighting in the dream, and I had a sword, and just by luck, I was so tired that I barely swung, and I hurt the enemy. The enemy fell, and I was so tired. I fell to my knees, and I couldn't even lift. I was so tired. My body was just so tired, and all of a sudden I saw a bright light, and it said, "The time has come for you to choose." And I said, "What do you ask of me?" And I said, "It's time for you to choose." And then I saw myself in front of a cave, and the cave was filled with lots of people praying to God, asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Like just asking for protection. And then it spun me back around and said, "The time has come. Will you protect my children? Would you fight for the children of God, protect the children of light?" And when I saw that, I mean, when I heard that, all of a sudden I saw the field, over the field with thousands and thousands of enemies coming, and I grabbed my sword and I said yes, and all of a sudden I had an energy, and this time when I was running towards the enemy, I had a shield.
Okay.
And I woke up, and then that was when everything started getting crazy, you know. And
Okay. Okay.
from where my sister called me saying my niece went missing, and then going to the pyramids and all this going on, and so basically, where right there where the pyramids at is
Mm.
everybody prays to the god of death, the Saint Santa Muerte. It's like it's all in Mexico. It's like the well death, but it's like in her in Mexico it's a female version, you know. And
Okay.
so right there is the actual valley of death also, like the
Mm-hmm.
walkway from the pyramids. It's all about death. So when the people started saying that Anubis, you know, was my protector, they all said I was there for a reason, and they pulled me aside and said that all the pyramids are connected for a reason, and
Okay.
and they even believe in the Egyptian gods. So they said that made a lot of sense for what I was going through, and so they started saying that Anubis was by my side, but you know, but the thing was during the seances, uh, I was hearing Anu, and then there was a break, and then they would say abyss. I mean, they would say bis, Anu, and
Okay.
then bis. And so I started doing more research, and in Mesoamerica, American folklore, or it says Anu was a ancient sky king
Mm.
that came down from the from the heavens and light, brought back light into the world. And
Okay.
bis in Mesoamerican means bis. It means sorry,
Sounds good.
everybody likes to do donuts right in front of the house, but
Yeah.
so bis means the return, to come again. And so when I started, you know, and I was, you know, and I really am a believer in Christ and in God, and
Mm.
so
Yeah.
I started laughing, and I told the Indians, I told the elders, I said, I knew in this, I said, you know what? I said, now I know why I believe in Christ so much, because maybe, you know, because if this is what's going on, I said, maybe, you know, and with the way things are going on in the world, I said, he has returned and y'all have not seen it. And so everybody got mad at me, all the elders, and they started trying to say that I was the devil himself. And they started
Mm-hmm.
like, basically, it got so bad to where it was kind of like I was kind of like, I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. The only time I could come around was when I was performing rituals for healing, but I wasn't allowed to be around anybody. Basically, I was like
Ostracized.
yeah, I was like they wouldn't let me go nowhere. They, you know, and the only
Okay.
time I could come around anybody is so they can perform miracles. I mean, not miracles, rituals,
He. Yeah.
but I'm gonna when I got to a certain place, and I there was one time where this lady came to my place where I was sleeping at, and she was saying you have to escape because they're trying to hurt you. And I said no. I said there's a reason I'm here for, and I said and I believe I'm gonna keep going with my dreams, and when I know where I'm supposed to be, I I'll find it. So one day they took me to a sacred spot,
Hmm.
and they left me alone, and and I was we were doing all the rituals from earth, wind, fire, and water. I'm so sorry. It seems
Don't
like,
worry, man. Don't worry.
but so I was learning the four elements, all the rituals and stuff,
Yeah.
and so so when I when I got to the very top of the temple, I was on the very top, and it was pretty high, and I felt like the wind hit me so hard that I had to fall on my knees because I felt like I was gonna um get taken up by the wind. And when
Okay.
I fell to my knees, it felt like dirt started hitting my face, and then it started raining, and then I felt my body turn warm, and I looked up, and the clouds came through the mountains and lit up one of the mountain tops of the mountains, and I heard a voice saying, "You got 4 days to get there." And I got up and I took off running. They tried to stop me, and
Okay.
they didn't want me to get up that mountain. So
Okay.
I don't know if you could see it real well, but it's got old Aztec or well, old engravings. Um, Found a temple on top of a mountain and well, like an old pyramid structure, and I did a little checking it out. You know? Now tomorrow, that mountain range behind there, a lot of scary stories, a lot of old wives' tales. I'm gonna try to you know, go spend a couple nights out there by myself. It's been a while since I've been doing some climbing. And after that, well, I gotta make it back because I gotta be in Mexico City to meet one of my brothers, and I ain't seen in a while. It's gonna be good to go to town, but let's see how it goes.
Mm.
you know, a lot of stuff. I started running into like all these dogs started being real friendly. Like wild dogs were coming around me, and so they helped me go on. And I would follow dogs, and when I'd find a nice place, I'd pray, and so I got up to the very top of the mountain, and I found an ancient temple that was destroyed. And it's one of the places in Texcoco, and when it just felt like it was really out of the ordinary. It was you could see the clouds on the mountain. Like literally, I walked through the clouds, and I did my praying there. And when I was coming down, I ran into some people about 2 o'clock in the morning, and they asked me what I was doing there. And this elderly lady came out of the dark and told me that she had a message for me, and I had to learn that that once I get down from the mountains, I had to learn that the ones that are of God, truly God's children, would love me, but the ones that use God's word against His children would hate
Hmm.
me.
Okay.
And so, sure enough, as I got back down, um, I found a little place to rent, and that night I was it was right on the side of the mountains. I was outside, and something attacked me. I don't know how I got out of it, But when I caused a little fire around me, when it jumped out and it ran, it looked kind of like a humanoid, but with a serpent's tail.
Oh,
And
right.
and I had been recording all my mishaps and all that. And as soon as the the sun came up, the Indians, the elders, found me and they kicked down my door and stole everything, my computers, my phone, everything. They were not going to let me, and they were going to try to. They tried to demand me that I was going to be their prisoner. But I got out of that, and so I kept hearing dreams, and there was a lot of other stuff I found that the elders taught me. I mean, showed me, and there was an um ancient tablet found under the the pyramids in Teotihuacan, and they were actually, I think, the tablets of thought.
Sorry, say that again. The tablets were
The emerald tablets of thought.
okay.
I think that's where they were found where I was at. Well, the elders had some of the inscriptions before the tablets were taken away, and the ones they showed me, they said that when he returns, the bringer of light returns to protect God's children, the children of light, that they will start coming. They will pretend to come from the sky,
Mm,
but they will be coming from underneath, and they are of the serpent kind.
okay.
And
Mm,
but see, that's and so after that, it also said the time will be when brother against brother and father against son. And see, I've never heard those words, but only in my dream, and that kind of hit me hard because I'm like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I had to hear that at the pyramids, and
Yeah.
so if you see everything's going on, and more cryptids and
Mm.
more
Louis, one thing is, the elders took you under their wing, right?
yeah,
Initially, yeah. And they put you through the initiation, if you like, with the
yeah,
burning branches. And as you said, they were beating you with the burning branches. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I guess it was an initiation. Am I right?
Yeah, it was like rituals to get me prepared so I can start um um doing the
Okay.
rituals myself. You know.
Okay. Do you remember when the pivotal point when it was that they changed and said, "Oh, hang on, man, this guy, he's kind of like he's not one of us. He's swaying from the path, you know,
Well,
right?"
you, um, I can tell you exactly when it happened. I was everything was going great, you know, and I decided to walk down the path towards the pyramids, and I came across a trail that was still like 20 minutes from town, and there was an old lady sitting under a tree, and she was hurt, and nobody was trying to help her, and she said that she stepped on a rock and her knee twisted, and
Hmm.
so I asked her if I could see, you know, because you know I also was learning all the ancient rituals, and so like when people would get sprained ankles, sprained shoulders, all that,
Hmm.
and sprained backs, I knew how to do the certain massages to help them
Okay.
get better.
Yeah.
Well, this lady, I went up to her and I asked her if I could see her knee, and her knee was pretty swollen. And I don't know what I did. All I did was just touch her knee and try to feel around and see if she was hurt, and the swelling went away. And she got up and ran to town and told everybody I healed her. And
Okay.
when she came back with everybody that her family, the
Mm.
elders got really mad because I didn't have
Uh,
permission to heal nobody.
yeah. Sure. Sure. Got you. Okay.
And
Yeah.
they,
I just wanted to clarify. I didn't understand why. Yeah. Okay. I
yeah,
got you. I got you.
and they and then they basically asked me, "How did you do that without a ritual?" And I said, "I was just trying to help her." And I said, "I don't know what happened. I just touched her leg and it just got better." And she got up and so basically they made the townspeople make it look like she was crazy, and everybody started yelling at her and cussing at her. The
Yeah.
lady left
Yeah.
crying,
Yeah.
and after
Yeah.
that, it was like I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't talk to nobody, and it was like
Mm.
I I was watched 24/7.
Another thing, Louis, when you went up the mountain and uh, you saw that old lady come out, what did she look like? This is
No,
before you saw the lizard cryptids,
yeah.
this
Well,
humanoid.
she looked like one of them old ladies that were mountains, the old traditional, dressed in them old dresses, and she had two guys with her.
Oh, right.
Um,
Okay.
and basically, they were saying that they had been going up to the mountains for over 15 years. One of them said they moved out there and moved his family because they had been having dreams because they had a message for me, and the message was that I was gonna have to understand that the time has come that the all God's children would truly the ones that were really God's children would love me, but the ones that use God's word against His children would hate me.
Okay.
And
Okay.
basically, I'm gonna tell you right now, um, going through this, I lost everything. I like my I used to. I used to have two 18 wheelers. I used to have, I used to have my house. I used to have everything, and now I don't have nothing. I live day by day. I go, all I live off of prayer and the kindness of
Yeah.
people because I have nowhere else. My
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
it got so bad that while I was in Mexico, my mom was trying to help them say that I was never in Mexico so they could try to get my murder charge put on me so they I wouldn't talk back about what happened with my niece and everything.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
basically, I just, um,
You've had some rough times, brother. Rough
yeah,
times.
I,
Yeah. I'm
but
sure with the grace of God, it's going to pan out. It's going to
oh
pan
yeah,
out.
I have faith in God. I mean, I would if I wasn't meant to go through this, you know, then
Well,
I
that's
really
it.
don't think what I've been through. I don't think anybody else that I know could have actually went through
No.
this. And
No. Some of the stuff you've seen, I mean, and the dreams, they're almost like prophetic dreams. They're like kind of portents for the future. They're kind of, and that shield that you had in your dream, that was God's shield, I'm sure.
yes, sir. And
Um,
but oh, I'm gonna tell you another thing.
hmm
When that old lady also talked to me and she said that that temple that was up there was destroyed a long time ago by one of the ancient kings that stopped child sacrifice through the land. That's where they would take, like in Mexico, when all the sacrifices were being held, that's where they would sacrifice all the children. And
okay,
she said that the ancient king, the last ancient king that showed there, he destroyed that temple. He went up to that temple and destroyed it before he just started fighting across the land to stop child sacrifice.
okay, cool, okay. Uh, the humanoid figure, after you saw the old lady, that humanoid figure with a lizard tail.
Yeah. Well, he looked about, it wasn't too big. It was about my size. It was dark. I knew if to me, I thought I was fighting a man because it was totally dark. And but when I threw a little bit of gas on the ground and lit the fire, he jumped in the shadows. But it looked like he jumped on a tree, and it looked like when he looked back at me, it looked like he had a, a tail, and he looked reptilian.
Okay. Do you see his eyes?
I didn't get to see his eyes. It just took off so fast.
Okay. Right. What was it? What did you feel from him? Did you feel like an intent of harm, or he
Oh,
was
it got to a point where I couldn't move, like it was squeezing me. Like,
okay? Okay.
I knew. And my daughter just passing by. She came
Oh,
behind.
okay.
Mm, but-
Hello. How you doing?
She's doing. Say hi, Mija. Oh,
Hey,
doing it.
nah. I'm pleased you got a good family, man. That's what you need, you
Well,
know.
this is the bet. I'm gonna be honest with you. She's the only one that really talks to me now.
Okay.
Very few friends now because like I said, everybody jumped on that other bandwagon and took everything from me. You know.
Yeah. 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 But you know, you kind of like in life, I've always come across that you know, it's a roller coaster, and when you're on a down, you go
Well,
back
just
up
material
again,
things.
brother. You go back up again. You will go back up again.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you know what? Even if they took all the material things, they still haven't took my grace.
No, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Mm.
no, that's it. Um, okay, so you were talking about we were discussing as well about some of the cryptids you've come across, like the Dogman or werewolf creatures.
Yeah. Growing up, um, in my old hometown,
Hmm.
I always we had my mom was always my mom was what do you call it she was into black magic and stuff, so we were always
Okay.
around witches, people who believed in black magic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times when she would leave us alone, and the witch that lived across the street would always about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning would start screaming, saying for us to stay in the house because the devil was outside. And me, like well, I was always curious. We would go outside, and I remember at one time we saw this big old shadow right across the street. Yeah, I'm talking. I'll be what do you call it? We saw a big old shadow come out of the grass, and it stood
Mm-hmm.
up and it looked all hairy. And if you and then every once in a while we would see like a dog, like a wolf shaped deal, but it would get up on its hind legs and take off running. And
Okay.
that
Okay.
people still come up and see stuff like in the cemetery out there. They can be driving down and they'll see like something just jump out in the middle of the road and just jump out in beams, and they move too fast where they can't see it.
This thing just kind of, I don't know why, it just like kind of just acts up.
Yeah.
Only this time. Weird. Just this time.
Well, you know what I've learned is sometimes when a message doesn't want to be heard, they'll try their best to disrupt it.
Odd. Really odd. And you know, usually the setup I've got is not the most expensive at all. It's not. There's other people out there with like thousands and thousands of pounds worth of gear, but I've just got a very basic sort of setup, really, you know. And um, yeah, but it's reliable. You know what I
Oh,
mean, Louis? It's usually reliable. This is the first time it's really acted up.
no, but what I'm saying is like, what I'm going through too is like this road is real quiet, and now that I'm talking to you, people with loud motors just come to the stop
Yeah,
sign, and they've been
yeah,
revving the engine real bad, like it's like
yeah,
interruption. Yeah, but
yeah.
you know,
It makes you
I,
wonder, doesn't it? It
yeah,
makes you wonder. I've had this before, where it's like kind of, stuff like this where I've gone videoing like a cryptid, and then all of a sudden the focusing plays up, the batteries die, crap just starts happening. You think like, really? Is that, they can manipulate so much.
oh yeah, and it's like one thing is when I have a friend that has been helping me through all of this. So while I've been going through the mountains and I've been doing all my prayers and stuff, we've been studying all biblical, and And we've been studying about cryptids. We've been studying about anything and everything that might be possible, even to
Mm.
where, like, basically, somewhere in Australia, there's a story about where there's an island full of witches that hold the doorway to the key of the dragon. To the
Mm-hmm.
to. So when I was explaining to my friend about what I was looking for, was there was a town in Mexico that had that was hiding the path to the town full of encryptids or shapeshifters that were protecting the doorway to the reptilian race. It just seemed so much, a lot of stories, that we've
Mm.
been coming up have, you know,
Yeah, they do. They have a common theme. All these stories have a common theme, and it's like, um, and the way I think about it, there's a lot of people they like kind of go, "Nah, you're talking rubbish." Absolutely. Well, hang on a minute. Not everybody that has seen the same things and are accurate in their description are liars. You can't
yeah.
call people liars who've
Yeah.
seen the same type of thing. Um, those can I ask you, look, the stone tablets that you saw, they got
They
taken out of the temple, did they?
were okay. They found the emerald tablets of thought, the stone emerald tablets of thought. They a while back they found them under the pyramids of, I think, the Temple of the Sun or the Serpent, but it was,
Okay.
and they found them under the pyramids in there, and the Indians were able to get like transcripts of it, because how it was the elders, and
Mm,
it talks about how, basically, um, how I said it, like when he returns, the bringer of light, the
mm.
son of God, or the son of light, and it even says the morning star, the
Okay.
star of the it says the star of the morning, that his presence will be so great that they will start panicking and start showing themselves above, trying to pretend that they're from above, but they're actually coming up from underneath, and there are the serpent kind, and they know their
Right.
time is short, and what do you call it?
Right. Because the lizard people, the more I understand things and the more in my mind I get things straight, it is the lizard people that are kind of like organizing a lot of these
Yes,
events
it even
and
talks
goings
about.
on.
There's even an ancient tablet, I that has been, you know that even states that they will secretly go into councils and become head of and run everything. Like they will secretly go in and take over the spots, because they can they can
Mm,
shapeshift, or they can look human. That they will
uh-huh.
take over our elites positions to control everything.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I was told, a guy I worked with once, he was a bit older than me, and he was a telehandler driver on a building site. So I was working on a building site, and um, I was always interested in the paranormal and stuff like that. And I remember him; he'd often come up to me and go, "Phil, what are you listening to?" I said, "Oh, just about ghosts and about this and that was really, stuff like that." He said, "What a load of old tosh." He said, "Honestly, what a load of old." And I was like, "Well, you've had nothing in your life that." No, he said, "No, not really." One day, I was listening to, about werewolves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, and he came in, he heard my radio going, it's a podcast. And he said, what are you listening to now? I said, oh, it's about werewolves and stuff. Um, and his face changed. He said, really? I said, yeah. I said, what, why? What made your face has changed? Why has it changed? He said, I saw one. I like, what? Where? Before he took the job as a driver, like a telehandler driver, big forklift driver on a site, he worked for a law firm, and 2 heart attacks later decided to give it up. But while he worked for this law firm, he was in a big meeting, and he said these guys, they came over from Libya, I think, one of these real, like, kind of, sort of saber rattling countries, Middle East somewhere. I think, I'm sure, absolutely positive he said Libya. But anyway, they came over and had a big meeting. It went on for about 2-3 days, and he said there was one guy there, and uh, and he would understand what we were talking about in English, but he wouldn't speak English. But he would always be talking to his mates in Libyan, or whatever language he was talking. He said one day, at a meeting, there were, let's call this guy that I know Roy. It's not very far away from the truth, his name. He said, I made a joke, and they all started laughing, and as they belly laughed, this guy opposite, he said his eyes changed to that of, instead of round pupils, they were like kind of reptile, like
I've
a
seen.
snake's eyes. When he was like laughing really, really hard.
Yeah.
He then looked at Roy, saw Roy was looking, and just gave him a look like, I'm gonna take your liver.
Yeah,
What are you
I
looking at?
understand. I had the same thing happen to me when I was in the pyramids.
Yeah,
We had a festival when I was doing my rituals, and this guy walked up, and he has a tattoo, and look, I'm gonna show you a tattoo. Look, it's it's
okay.
the Grim Reaper. Well, he had the same tattoo, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him, and when I looked at him, his eyes turned into like reptilian. They got like a cat or a snake eye.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
he panicked and grabbed all his tent gear and he left. After he talked to me, he just panicked and grabbed everything and left.
Man, man. Yeah. So tell me. Yeah, after you got ostracized, or not ostracized, but after you got chucked out, yeah, and they said,
Yeah,
look, you healed that woman, you didn't get permission,
yeah,
which was tough, and that was tough. That was a tough call, sort of like, because you weren't doing anything wrong in my book. You were helping her.
yeah.
So what happened then? Where did you
Well,
go?
when it took a while. Took a couple of months of being treated really bad. Like
Mhm.
it got to a point where I would only get fed once a day and the bare minimum. So and but once like came when I ran up that mountain, they tried to stop me and they couldn't. And I was sleeping in caves and wherever I could find. I went with the bare minimum, just a backpack of clothes. And the first 3 nights there was a crazy storm where it was
Mm.
also like sleeting and hailing. So I had
Yeah.
to sleep in ice puddles and stuff. And I don't know how I made it. I just knew that every time I went to bed, I would just do my prayer and saying, I hope the light inside of me keeps me warm enough till the sun comes up, and I'd fall asleep in the rain and the puddles, and I'd wake up, and the third day the sun came out, and I was able to make a fire and find some food, and when I came down, after I talked to those people, like I said, they went in my place, stole everything that was electronic. They took my computer, everything, and then they forced me to go in front of the council and the witches, well, the I guess the elders, the shamans. I say witches because it was they were they were saying that I would kneel before them and they would bind me and that I had no power and I but basically the only thing I told them, I said, you can no longer use God's word against God's children, and I told them to get out of my way, and they all put their heads down and they got out of my way, and I left. And
Okay.
I called a friend from San Antonio, Texas, and he said he knew a friend in Veracruz that was close to the pyramids that I was trying to get to next. And he called them, and I found a way to get up there. And next thing you know, I'm in the mountains, and next thing you know, I'm surrounded by all these Christians, and they were trying to keep me from getting to pyramids. I was even like I even got to build a church up in the mountains for one of the communities out there, and but they were all trying to keep me away from the pyramids. They would not let me, and finally I got mad, and what was really crazy is when I told the church to leave me alone. Oh, that's
That's
when I
okay.
told
No, you're still on. You're still on. It's
okay,
just it's glitching for some reason.
when I told the church to leave me alone, that I to stay away from me because they were just causing nothing but trouble. I as soon as I walked out of the church, I got surrounded by cops, and they started grabbing everything and going through all my stuff, and they put me
Mm,
in jail.
yeah,
And I was actually in the place where it was the main illegal exports of human body parts, like in the world where people go missing, and
yeah.
uh, they harvest illegal human body organs. That's where I was at in that
Damn.
area. And the cops were saying they were going to take me to the hospital. And just then, when they were going to take me to the hospital, military showed up, and the guy in charge come up because I had my military boots, because I was doing a lot of hiking, and he looks at me and goes, "You look like a hippie," because I had my hair was real long, I had a goatee, and I said, "Yeah, I'm a hippie." And he looks at my boots and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, and I just got quiet. And that's when he told everybody to get out of the room. He goes, "Get out of the facility." And he comes to me again. He sits in front of me and goes, "Tell me why you're really here." And I said, "Sir, with all due respect," I said, "it's kind of hard to explain." And then he's like, "Well, just try." And I said, "Okay." I said, I'm just going to tell you my truth." And I told him I was just following my dreams, and
Mm,
I was just trying, I had dreamed that I was supposed to help God's children.
yeah.
And he looks at me and he goes, "I'll tell you what." He goes, he was special forces from the Mexican um, government. And he
Okay.
said that, and so he sat down and he goes, "Look," he goes, my brother was he was special forces, but he got killed trying to stop child trafficking. He goes, "So I ended up joining the special forces in Mexico so I could help fight and protect God's children also." And he goes, "There's must be a reason you're here." And he goes, "You know what? I'm going to tell you this. Maybe it's best you get out of here as soon as possible." But he goes, "We are all fighting to protect God's children here." And
Yeah.
after that, he let me out, and I started heading back towards America.
Okay.
Mhm.
Damn, that's some heavy place. That's a heavy
Yeah,
place. Yeah. Yeah.
it was tropical, like literally, like at night when I'd sleep in the scorpions that look like this, they were bigger than my hands, and I'm like, wow, like
Damn.
walking in the tropical forest, I mean, it was a
Yeah.
pretty, it was intense, I went through a
Damn.
lot, you know.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Did you growing up? Did you know? Did you must have recognised the fact that your ma was into black magic?
Oh, my mom.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been all my life, even as a child, like people would show up at my house, and well, my mom was always going to witches and stuff, and but as even as a child, people would show up at my house and tell me I had a different path, and I was gonna have to decide whether I was gonna fight for God or fight for the darkness. But and I mean, I didn't have a normal childhood. It was always like somebody would always show up. It was more or less my childhood looked more like an Exorcist movie. Lots of stuff was happening to me as a child growing up. My brother ran away at 16 because in his world he don't believe in that, and he couldn't bear
Mm,
to, because in his world that shouldn't exist. So he ran away when he was 16. You know,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's tough, man. That's
so
tough.
I had
Yeah.
so it was a different childhood.
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't have a. It wasn't like it got so bad that I remember when my mom couldn't. She just because I wouldn't do the. She would always try to force me to learn black magic and stuff, and I would always fight it because in my heart I just didn't want to do that. And it got to a
Mm.
point where she didn't want me, and nobody in my family wanted me. And one of my uncles that was a Catholic, devoted Catholic, tried to take me in, and it only lasted a month before he said that even though he believes in God, that he wasn't going to be able to keep me in the house because he just couldn't explain what was going on, and it scared that he didn't
Mm.
want to put his family in danger.
Okay. Yeah. No, sure. Okay. And she was always into it, as far as you know, right from a very early age, she was always into that.
Yes, and
Okay.
and I
No,
think the last time,
I'm just trying to figure out really, if there's any, you've heard of the hitchhiker syndrome where things attach you might experience something, and that experience sort of acts like a hitchhiker and stays with you and travels with you.
yes, sir.
I'm just kind of wondering, Louis, if because growing up in that environment, that's quite a yeah, that's not an ordinary environment to grow up in.
Yeah, I was. I didn't really have much friends in school and stuff because it was a small town and everybody knew each other, so everybody would hear stories about me. So people stayed away from me because it was just too. Everybody was just too worried about, too scared about folklore and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. No, I think because you definitely got your faith is strong, and I think you'll find that way. I don't think there's any hitchhiker um attachment, with you at all. I don't. It is a worry though with you saying the things that you've seen, the cryptids, and you were talking uh you're talking about like uh other cryptids that you've seen in the desert, was it?
I've seen some in the desert. I've seen some back home. Um, I've basically all my life I've run into things I can't explain. Well, people can't explain, and I don't. Going around telling regular people in society about this, they kind of look at you kind of funny. But I had to deal with it all my life. Seeing things that happen, you know, in the
Yeah,
woods.
there's no judgment here at all.
Yeah.
You kind of you know
Well,
you're preaching to the converted here, really.
yeah. I learned. I'm gonna tell you. It got to a point where you know, as bad as my family treated me and stuff, and I would always hear a voice saying, "Take it as training because someday you're going to be needed to help others, and you're going to have to learn how to get through this and help people get through this." So
Mm,
when I tried not to learn all the black magic and stuff, I heard a voice saying, "Learn it because then you can learn how your enemies attack, and you'll know how to counteract it." So I was
mm,
always I only learned only I don't even though I have all the knowledge of it, I won't
mm.
do it. But it's like I know how they attack. You know.
Okay. Do they come in dreams? Do you think they start off with people they come in, because I've heard just lately that people who've had especially like werewolf or dogman um, uh, encounters have encountered it first in dreams.
Yeah. Um.
Would
When
that
I
sound
first,
right to you? Does that sound right?
yes, sir. Um. Right before I left to Mexico, I started dreaming about big dire wolves. But it was like I was being attacked, and they would show up and help me. And then it got to a point where around my neighborhood, you could hear like dogs fighting something, and you can hear actual howling like wolves. But in that area, there's no such thing as wolves, you know. And but if you look up in Texas, where they say they see dogmen, it's all in that area where I grew up at.
Mm. Okay. 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 Right. So you kind of like have a calling, really.
It's ever since a child, I've been told I had a different path, and I was even told that no matter how much I try to live a normal life, I won't be allowed to. And like for instance, I'm ex-military. While I was in military, I went to college for homicide investigations and forensic science. When I got
Hmm.
out of military, like I said, when every time in my life that I tried to do better, something would happen. So it got to a point where I just lived basically. I liked helping people,
Mm.
and I always try to help others.
Yeah.
So and I knew there was people would come to me, because of the life I lived, when they couldn't go to authorities, and I would go and try to help others, and sometimes, but I always try to help people.
Louis, how do you feel about when you said about the Christians who turned on you and said, "Nah, you're not going, you're not leaving, you're not going, you're not going." Christians, you know, how do
Yeah.
you feel about
How did I
the
feel?
religions now, especially Christianity? How do you feel about that?
Well, what pissed them off about when I told them to stay away from me, I told them because they were having a class in front of me, and they were trying to teach the newcomers to when they're preaching, they have to ask for money for their tithing and stuff like that. And I said, it's not about preaching about give me money, it's preaching the word of Christ. I said, so I said I said I said y'all have lost the message. I said y'all have not been doing the message right. I said, and I guess, and I told them, I said, if this would be any other time, I said, I guess at the knock at your door has been unanswered. And I said,
Mm.
and y'all are not truly of Christ. And that's when they got pissed off at me.
Okay, yeah, yeah, sure, yeah. And we were talking also about once again about dreams, about because I've had like a bad episode with a shadow being,
Yeah,
um, the thing where you wake up and you can't move in bed.
I
Um,
felt that.
and I put my hands up. I weed myself. I was like really that scared. And this thing looked, it was really weird. It rose up from. I was in a bed set, really small, just single room, and in a shared house, and there was a lot of um, all different denominations living in the house. The shower was grim, grotty, kitchen grotty. There's a lot of thievery going on, Um,
Yeah.
so it'd have padlocks on the outside of the doors, to each individual room in the house, because the locks would be busted. But I woke up and it was the middle of the night, early hours, about 2:30, I suppose, and this black figure just rose up. It started off as a ball in a corner of the room. It was a ball, blacker than the dark of the room, and then as it rose up, it kind of was thin, but it was wearing a hat, and it almost looked like. Do you? It kind of was
Look what?
thin, like a rake. Like these things
Yeah.
with cryptids with rakes. It looked
Yes.
like a rake, but black shadow. Couldn't make any defining features. It was just an outline of a shadow, but it loomed, and when it stopped by my bed, and it got a little closer, and I could hear it saying something. I couldn't make out what it was, but it growled it. It growled it,
Hmm.
and then it went on out the room, left. Bear in mind, it's a shared house and a lot of thievery and a lot of different people coming and going in the place. And I always, I'm no angel, right? I admit that evening before I went to bed, I was in a low point. So I had been drinking. No hard liquor. It was beer, but I had been drinking. And when I went to sleep, but I always lock the bedsit door because you know I don't want no one coming in and sort of just nicking the knife in me or whatever they want to do. In the morning when I saw this thing leave through the door, I got up and the door was open. I always lock that.
I've had those experiences too.
Have you?
Yeah, I've had those experiences too. I even had one experience recently in Tijuana when I was up there, where it I started feeling like something was holding me down, and I heard a voice saying, "Just let it happen, just let it happen." And then next thing you know, I felt like my curtain from my place just opened up, and I saw a black figure, tall black figure, and it grabbed me, and next thing you know, I was under uh I was like a bright light,
Mm-hmm.
and but I broke out of it, and whatever it was, there was three of them, and when I tried to attack it, then next thing you know, I'm awake, and but I've had like scratch marks on my arm and stuff, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I've
It's. Was it like more like a shadow? So it's like a shadow being.
yeah, but what I saw at first, they were shadow beings, and then when I like what I remember of it is like I thought I was awake because I when I broke out of whatever was holding me and I saw the light, they were jumping back and they looked more like grays,
Okay. Yeah.
and then they disappeared. I mean, I
Yeah.
woke up and I was back in my room.
Okay. Do you hear voices sometimes? Because I hear a lot of. I was in a graveyard doing.
Uh-huh.
This was in London, and it was a very old graveyard. I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of years old. And I was walking around, and I heard at the same time that I saw like looked like a wolf. I'd say werewolf, but
Uh-huh.
it was a quadrupedal. It was on all fours, and it kind of morphed out. Like
Yeah.
Predator, where you see it morph out. The Predator does, and you can see the foliage and the trees and stuff, but you can see the outline of the figure
Yeah.
as it's walking. That I saw. I actually got it on video as well, and
Okay.
yeah, really cool. But before that, I had a voice in my ear, and I said, "Oh, I remember saying, I hope people listening to this can hear that if the camera picked it up." And the voice had a really robotic, deep voice. Um, my name, Phil,
Uh-huh.
go now. And this was just before I saw that thing. So whether it was warning me, helping me, probably so. I think so.
That's when I know something's around and I know that I have to get prepared. I start hearing voices saying prepare yourself or get ready. I hear like or I'll hear a message and and basically it's got me out of a lot of things
Mm,
that and I truly think that I've been studying a lot and that higher beings that are coming to help or like angels or the light the children of light or God's warriors,
yeah.
they can speak to you telepathically, you know
Mm,
so
yeah.
I've been hearing like and it just seems like every time something's about to happen to me I have that intuition to where I'll hear a voice and I know to get prepared.
Okay. Yeah. 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 And it is like a proper voice, isn't it?
Yes, sir. you know
Mm,
um the last one I, this just a few nights ago, I woke up and I saw a shadow figure at the window, and I heard a voice saying, "Prepare yourself. There's no more time. The time has come." Um, and then I heard was, "Prepare for the fire." And I'm just like, um, and I woke. I mean, and then I didn't see the shadow no more at the window,
yeah.
but it looked like the shadow figure was in a hood and at the window inside the room, but know, but
Okay.
it wasn't out the window. It was like actually in the room. You
It was in the room. Okay.
know.
Yeah. Did it scare you?
No, I don't get scared no more because after everything I've been through,
Yeah, I
I'm
guess
just like
so.
I'm
Guess so.
I'm more like I'm just wondering when the time will come when I actually have people by my side that are actually gonna help me. You know,
Mm. Yeah, 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 sure.
because
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're definitely we're with you, brother. I mean, um, God, God is there. God, believers in God are gonna, win this thing through. That's for
well,
sure.
it even says it on the tablets that it even though they um they do us whatever they can, the light will always win. But this has to come to pass. And even it even says in the tablets, he will show himself and nobody will believe him. Even after the great fire, people will still not believe who he truly is. And people will be left behind.
Okay, okay. And on that tablet, you can remember it saying that the morning star would come from below.
No, the morning star, when he returns, they will pretend to come from the sky, but actually be coming, and they are the serpent
Okay.
kind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
says, even in the Bible, it says when he returns, he will cast the serpent kind into the abyss once again.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because morning star to me is Lucifer.
Yes, but see, that's the thing. Me and my friend have been doing a lot of studying on this too, right? Even Christ calls himself the bright morning star.
Hmm.
And if Lucifer is the morning star, and look, I'm not trying to say, you know, what I'm saying is, what if there's a chance that yes, he did fall because he fell from grace, but what if he had to go through hell just to know why
Yeah.
God made man in his image, and now he's going to fight for Christ? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like fight
I know. I
for
know.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought about it before now, and it's crossed my mind, and I thought, well,
because if Christ calls himself the bright morning star,
mm,
Lucifer is the morning star, the bringer of light. Wouldn't that contradict on who Christ is and um, bring it out to where what if it's one of the same? It's
mm,
just that, and remember this: all history books are made by the winners, so they're gonna tell you what they want. And if you know how our history has been, we have been lied to so much that what if the true good ones are being told are the evil ones?
yeah.
I mean,
But
I
all all
it's just
history,
yeah, but
kind of, yeah, all history is masked, isn't it? It's no, sort of like, as you say, it is written by winners mostly, yeah, and it is easily manipulated and masked
yeah,
to suit the
because
present. Yeah,
yes, to suit how to control the ones uneducated.
yeah. I mean, I'm Bob. I'm gonna take probably flack for this, but yeah, it has gone through my mind that uh, God cast Satan down to earth, but hey, guess what? What if that cast angel that came to earth was in actual fact Jesus himself?
Yeah, and see, check this out. Okay, in the tablets of thought, the emerald tablets of thought, it it even says, you know what, the what do you call it? The total darkness is told he is one of you, but you are not allowed to touch him, and you are supposed to release him. And it says his journey will be going through the darkness to bring the light out of the darkness. He would have to go basically like your journey is to go through total darkness to find the light.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, So it's just I do a lot of studying on everything.
Yeah,
Even
sure. Yeah.
so I mean I believe in Christ's words. I believe in Christ and all that, but something has been hidden from us, and if he's called the bright morning star.
Yeah.
Lucifer is the morning star. Basically, Christ was saying he has seen the light.
Mm. So to see the light, he was in the dark.
Yeah, and even when he was crucified, they said he had to go to hell, and he traveled hell for 3 days, all journeys
Mm.
through hell, and then when he was returned, I mean, when he was resurrected, he knew. And this is one thing I tell everybody, right? And so basically, okay, when Christ would say, "Destroy this temple, and I will restore it in 3 days."
Yeah.
Yeah, and people go, well, everybody says, well, he restored his body. And this is what I'm telling you. Through the Bible, he tells everybody, he's through the Bible, he's always saying, ye of little faith, ye of little faith. If with the size of a mustard seed, the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And he always said, ye of little faith. When he comes and talks about the body, he says
Mm.
it's a vessel.
Yeah.
It's a vessel. So when the way I look at it is when he was sent to hell for them 3 days and he came back, remember before he took his last breath, he said, oh Father, why have you forsaken me? He looks up and he says, for the first time after proving to everyone and showing all of these miracles, for the first time, he questioned God and he was sent to hell. And when he came back, his faith was restored and knew that he should have never questioned God or God's plan, and his faith was restored. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
His faith was his temple.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see where you're coming from with that. I can indeed, sir.
I do a lot of studying. I every chance
Mm.
I get, I look at I cross reference every folklore, everything, and you know, like this. Check this one out. Do you know the on the temple mounds in Ireland? Do you know about those?
Yeah.
How
Yeah. That.
they used to have a cross in them,
Yes.
and how they were all destroyed. And the biggest one ever found was they built a city on it, and it was called the Vatican.
Yeah.
And that's when in Ireland they believe the first serpent was named Adam.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, but the thing is like I study all
I.
whatever I can because I you know what I can't depend on the the preachers and Catholic or whatever to
No.
give me any kind of information because all they want to do is tell us what to think. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we can't. You can't go down the route of, because if you blinker yourself with the indoctrinations of organized religion, you won't get really any answers.
No, sir.
And the people that are looking for these answers, which are going to win through. Really, you've got to have an inquiring mind. It's it's like you see, with it's strange. The Vatican has got, usually it holds big meetings and talks. He talks to the people. The Pope does on his balcony, and he goes around and talks to people. But he's also got a large hall. I've forgotten what the name. I'm quite ignorant, really. He's got a large hall inside, and this hall has got on the roof, and behind him is a large picture, famous picture, and it's almost like the seventh harrowing of hell.
Yes.
So you've got the Pope standing there, and behind him is like the seventh harrowing of hell going on, with all
Yes.
these demons,
Yep.
kind of just dropping down into the pit of abyss. And there's a snake, a serpent in that building. Not an actual one, but one built into the architecture.
Yes, I've studied on all that also.
Now that is odd.
Yeah.
That is odd.
Back when I was growing up, I don't know when the year it was, I forgot, but you remember, did you know the Vatican had, for exorcism, it has to be an act of God for the Vatican to give permission to uh, to uh, to perform
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
It, uh, I think what it is, sir, the Pope, it had to be sanctioned by the Pope.
for exorcism. But did you
Yeah.
know before that, exorcisms were not they were commonly used. But one time, all the Jewish rabbis and everything wanted to come to go to the Vatican Square and conduct a big exorcism on the Vatican because they believed the demons were in the Vatican, and that's when the papacy outlawed um, exorcism. And that's when it got real hard to do any exorcism because the Jewish the rabbis and stuff wanted to perform.
I didn't
Uh,
know that. No,
yeah, and
didn't know that.
they outlawed exorcisms after that passed, and they said anybody going into the Vatican trying to perform an exorcism would be put in prison.
Hmm. Did not know that. No.
Yeah.
And it's funny. You remember you saying about also another thing about in Mexican folklore, you had that uh, like a person's head with an owl's body.
Yes, we call it lechuzas. It's like a big old bird. It's like a big old owl with a woman's face or woman's head, and that's what the Mexican folklore. And as we were growing up, we saw things like that, and it
You saw
was
stuff like that. You saw
yeah,
it.
yes, we did.
Where? What, in a tree or?
They would come at night, and what do you call it? They would, we were always told as a child walking through the neighborhood, don't whistle if you hear a whistle. If you hear a whistle, you'll hear a whistle 3 times, and if you whistle back, you'll be attacked. And growing up, I was attacked by big birds at night. Birds trying to get in the house and stuff, and my mom would go crazy saying they were lechuzas or those birds with the head of a woman, and they were basically what they're saying is the witches transform and fly around, and they can't transform their heads. So, but they were the ones causing all the when they wanted to go do evil and stuff like that.
Damn.
Scared that if the government found this last celestial gift, they're still given permission to hunt down witches and kill them in Mexico. Pyramid had a reaction towards me. Portals are being opened up. Um,
Are being opened up.
yes, sir. Nobody could ever find it, and I found a room, and something happened in there. It says that only a certain bloodline can go through that. The rocks started moving on their own, and it came out. It was half human, half fish-like, and he he started praying to God because he thought it was the devil.